everyone. Good afternoon from Jakarta, and good day for everyone around the world. My name is Andre Mulpiana. Thank you for coming to our webinar today. As we stated in our invitation that this seminar or this webinar today, we will talk about Agile auditing. And we will have a Master of Ceremony joining us to open the session today. I believe she's already here today, Rosi Fitriati. Miss Rosi, probably you can take the floor before we proceed to the session, the event of the webinar today, that we will have our two guest speakers, Phil Leverman, who are now already live from Australia, and also Nino Kusnadi, who also currently living in overseas in Qatar, and now he will join us remotely from his place in Qatar. I believe he's already here. So I just give this floor back to Ms. Rosi, so we can proceed with the opening of this session today. Ms. Rosi, time is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Pak Andre. Okay, welcome to webinar Agile Auditing, December 21st, 2021, from 2 until 4 p.m. Speakers today, we have Nino F. Kusmedi, Phil Leverman, moderator, we have Andre Mulpiana, and MC Rosi Fitriati. Those are the information for today's webinar. The session will begin shortly. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Our session is about to start. Please have a seat. Thank you. Welcome to FAJ Consulting webinar, Agile Auditing. I'm Rosi Fitriati, Master of the Ceremony for today. The agenda for today, first agenda is opening session, and we'll follow with second agenda, webinar session, led by our moderator, Pak Andre. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now opening the session. I would like to invite moderator, speakers, and also participants. Please turn on your camera so we can take pictures together. Let's take picture together. Excellent. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to our main agenda, the webinar session. All presentation, question, and answer will be moderated by our moderator, Bapak Andre Mulpiana. Allow me to read his short profile. Andre Mulpiana, BSIE, MSIE. He is a partner at FAJ Consulting, senior advisor for 21 years of consulting with focus on strategy and operating excellence. And he graduated from University of Central Michigan for his Bachelor of Science in Industrial and Engineering, and University of Cleveland State for his Master of Science in Industrial Engineering. He has many various experiences in consulting field. Among others are Associate Director at Ernst & Young for Business Advisory, at MDocs for Business Consultant, and also at Arthur Andersen as Senior Consultant for Risk Management, Business Process, and Supply Chain Management. He was also Operating Director at City State-owned utility company. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our moderator, Bapak Andre Mulpiana.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rosi Fitriati, for opening the session today. As I mentioned earlier, we today have the honor of two good speakers from international exposure. He's Phil Leverman, who's currently he's been a consultant in the risk management and IT audit, as well as the some software that focus on the risk management. And he is today will present and teach us about the Agile auditing. And at the same time, the other honor speaker today is Nino Kusdiawan. He's currently the internal audit professional in the position in the Audix company, which is the oil and gas company in Qatar, in the Middle East, around Middle East. So without having to wait some more time, we can just proceed to the time for our speakers to present his presentations today about Agile auditing. And I believe Phil already here, Mr. Leverman already here, and Mr. Kudiawan is already here. Hi, Mr. Leverman, are you here?
I'm here.
Ah, okay. Okay. So if I can call you, how are you? How are you, Phil?
I'm good, Pak Andre. How are you?
Good, 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 Pak Phil. It's been a long time not to see each other. Yeah.
Yes, many years.
Many years. Yeah, yeah. Me and Phil, audience. Me and Phil has been working together many years ago in a risk management and IT audit area. I believe also, as well as some people here, I mean some gentlemen or ladies here that already sitting in our webinar have already known Phil for quite some time. Phil Leverman is a very famous gentleman in Indonesia in risk management area. So we just welcome you today, and the time is yours, Phil, to lecture us about the Agile auditing. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Andre. Let me just share my slides. Can we see the slides?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
good. Okay.
We can see it well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm sitting here on the Gold Coast in Australia, at home, where I've been throughout COVID. So I'm pleased to join this webinar today. I think probably this year I've probably done about 30 webinars, and this is the last one for the year. So I'm looking forward to share with you today on this, I guess what I would call a new topic of Agile audit. I'll just introduce myself in a little bit more detail. So I'm the Business Development Director for Wolters Kluwer Teammate in the Asia Pacific. I've got 30 years of management assurance experience. I started my career working in Sydney. Then I was in Jakarta for over 20 years. So my bahasa is okay. Although sudah lama saya tidak pakai bahasa, so mungkin sudah lupa. From Jakarta, I then lived in Singapore for 3 or 4 years, and I've been living back in Australia for the last 2 years.
Still good, Phil. Your bahasa still good.
Still just as bad as it was before. It's okay.
Okay, continue on. Okay.
So my education background, I have a Master of Business Administration from the University of Western Australia, a Bachelor of Business majoring in Accounting and Information Systems from Southern Cross University. And as you can see up the top there, I'm a Certified Internal Auditor, Certified Information Systems Auditor, and a Certified Fraud Examiner, amongst others. Just let me briefly introduce my company. So my company is Wolters Kluwer. We're a Dutch information services company, but working on a global basis. We were founded in 1836, so nearly 185 years we've been in existence. We're a global 2000 company. We're listed on the Euronext exchange in Amsterdam. We've got 19,000 employees worldwide, and last year's revenue was just under 5 billion euro. So we provide content and software solutions to many of the world's leading organizations, and they're just some of our statistics there. So for example, 93% of Fortune 500 companies use one of our products, and we have many different products across different content areas. The area that I work in is a product called Teammate Plus. So it's an internal audit solution. We also have a data analytics solution called Teammate Analytics. And again, just some of the statistics there, over 3,000 customers around the world, 150 countries. 40% of the Fortune 100 companies, 30% of Fortune 1000 companies, all of the top global accounting firms, and over 1,000 public sector agencies using our software. And the logos there just represent some of the brand names you might recognize. In Indonesia, our customers include companies like APP, Bank Danamon, Bank Indonesia, Bulog, CIMB Niaga, Indosat, Ministry of Finance, PLN, and Cinemasland, just to mention a few. So we've got a lot of customers in Indonesia. So today I'm going to talk about Agile audit. As I said, it's a fairly new topic for audit. The concepts of Agile have been developing in organizations probably over the last 10 or so years. But in the last few years, internal audit has started to pick up some of these concepts. So I'm going to just start with a brief introduction. Then I'll talk about why Agile audit. Then I'll talk about the different components of Agile audit. And I'll talk about two areas, one which is not purely Agile, but it's about being Agile within the organization, and that's continuous risk assessments. And then I'll talk about Agile audit, talking about the Scrum methodology and Kanban. Then I'll just share very briefly at the end a couple of screenshots from our software to show you how we can do Agile audit, and wrap up with a brief conclusion. So I think Patnino and myself will probably cover the similar areas in our presentations, but we'll obviously share our own experience in relation to these areas. I think Agile is an area that is still evolving, so there's no right or wrong way of doing Agile. It's a set of principles that you can use, mix and match within your organization. So don't think about what I'm about to say is you have to do it exactly like this. Think about the concepts and the principles I'll talk about, and see how they can be used or modified or fine-tuned for your organizations. We, over the last 2 years at Wolters Kluwer Teammate, we did a global survey, and we had nearly 1,500 different organizations participate in our survey. And one of the key lessons learned from that survey was that internal audit leaders believe that they need to change, and that means improve their internal audit methodologies. And on the slide here, you can see the percentage of respondents who identified changes in these areas here. So interestingly enough, the top two on here were both related to Agile. That's continuous risk assessment and Agile audit. Data analytics was also an area where organizations believe that they need to improve. So this is a very topical subject for internal audit, and hopefully I can share what I've learned about Agile over the last few years with you today. What is agility? I think agility is a word that we use more common, not only in our organizations, but life in general. And I think we had a really big lesson with agility early last year when we hit by global pandemic. We had to quickly change the way we lived, the way we worked, just about everything to do with our lives. So we all had to become more agile, and it's a good segue into what Agile means for organizations. So my simple definition of agility is the ability to change direction, and to do that rapidly. So rapidly change direction. In the slide here, from American football, because I think agility is something we talk about in sport a lot. It's about the guy running with the ball there being able to avoid the person who's trying to tackle him. So got the ball running and then quickly change direction to avoid being tackled. So that's agility. from a business point of view, I like to look at 4 aspects in relation to agility, and they're shown on the diagram here. So the first one is responsiveness. So by responsiveness, I mean recognizing the need to change. If we don't know that we need to change, we will never change. So the first aspect of agility is recognizing the need to change, which is responsiveness. The second aspect is flexibility in itself. So it's the ability to change. The third one is speed, as I've just mentioned. So being able to change quickly. And the fourth one, which I like to add into this picture, is stability. We need to recognize the need to change. We need to change quickly. But when we do all of those things, we have to maintain our stability. So if you go back to the football picture on the previous slide, if the guy trying to avoid the tackle falls over, then he hasn't been agile. So we need to maintain our stability. So responsiveness, flexibility, speed, and stability. They're the 4 concepts that I like to consider under agility. I think as you all know, agility started off in the IT sector. We started to talk about organizations using an agile approach to system development. And through that, we have the Agile Manifesto. And the 4 principles of the Agile Manifesto are listed here. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. So even though these principles are obviously related to IT, some of them can also be used by internal audit. And I think the one that is probably most relevant is the last one, responding to change over following a plan. I think traditionally auditors have developed an annual audit plan, and no matter what happens, they follow that audit plan. They come in and to do a particular audit, and they have a plan for doing that audit. They have a program, and again, they stick to that plan and they stick to that program. Agility means that you have more flexibility. The audit plan, the annual audit plan that you start out with at the beginning of the year, changes during the year. And what you expect to be doing halfway through the year or in Q3 or in Q4 might not be actually what you planned when you started that year out. The same in an audit. When you go into an audit and you start with an understanding of the business, you believe you know what the risk and controls are, and you have an audit plan that reflects that. But as you learn more about that area that you're auditing, again, there's a need to change. So again, Agile starting in the IT industry, but being adapted not only by audit, but many functions across the organization. We talk about Agile human resource management. We talk about Agile this or Agile that. So Agile is one of those concepts which is being adopted by many different business groups or business areas or business teams across organizations. When we talk about it from an IT point of view, some of the concepts they talk about is fail fast, meaning you don't need to go on and on and on to work out that something doesn't work. It's better to find out something doesn't work quickly rather than take a long time to find out that same thing. So fail fast. But when you fail fast, you learn faster. So the old saying about trial and error is not 100% accurate for Agile, but it's part of that Agile approach. Trying to do things, hopefully succeeding, but if you don't, failing and learning from that experience. Fail fast, learn fast, improve fast, try again, succeed. And the last one here, the quote there on the bottom, is from Wayne Gretzky. And if you've ever watched North American ice hockey, he's probably the most famous ice hockey player. But he said, you miss 100% of the shots you never take, meaning that if you don't try something, you'll never know whether it's going to work or not going to work, okay? So again, back to that concept, try, hopefully it works. If it doesn't work, learn from the experience and improve that process. So why Agile? Why Agile audit? So if we talk about the traditional audit approach, is what we call the waterfall approach. And this approach, again, the term waterfall means that you finish one phase and then you move on to the next phase. And then you finish that next phase and then you move on to the following phase. So a lot of methodologies are called waterfall because you finish one before you move on to the next, and you finish that before you move on to the next. In audit, the typical 4 phases, you do your planning. When you finish your planning, you move on to your field work. When you finished your field work, you move on to the review process. When you finish the review process, you move on to reporting, finishing one phase before you move on to the next phase. So that's the traditional approach. So what are the problems with the traditional approach for internal audit? Well, the first one, and the one that leads us to agility, is the fact that it's not responsive to change, okay? If we've already done our planning and then we're into our field work and we learn something new that affected our planning, we don't necessarily go back and adjust because of what we've learned new. So the traditional waterfall approach is not responsive to change. The second drawback of the traditional approach is that it's slow to deliver insights. An audit might take 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months or more for a big, complicated audit. So the question is, when do we deliver to our stakeholders what we've learned from that audit? Quite often, if you're using the waterfall approach, you deliver your report at the end of the audit. So that could be 3 months or 6 months or 12 months after we started the audit. So is that still relevant to the stakeholders in our organization? In many cases, it's no longer relevant. So the fact that we're delivering slow insights is a major issue. The last drawback here is the fact that it's not transparent. When we do that planning, when we go in and do the field work, quite often we're working in isolation. Yes, we're interviewing our auditee, we're collecting documentation, we're looking at this, we're looking at that, but it's really us coming in and doing something rather than working together with the auditee. So there's a lack of transparency in the typical audit process. So what that's led to is a movement away from the traditional audit to a more agile audit. Now, I'll talk about when Agile works best and when it doesn't work a little bit later. But if you want to use Agile concepts, don't think that you have to use them on every project in the same way. As I said at the beginning, Agile is number one, a mindset, which I'll talk about in a moment. But once you have that Agile mindset, the way you implement or the way you do Agile from one project to the next, whether you use Agile or don't use Agile, or if you use Agile, how you use it, will change from audit to audit, okay? So don't think of it as a set of rules that you must follow. Agile is a set of principles that you can use as guidelines where and when you choose. So what are the benefits of Agile audit? Well, the first benefit is that it allows us to manage expectations. So internal audit always talks about adding value. And this year I've done a number of webinars on how do internal audit add value. But I believe that internal audit in many organizations, and again, this is generalizing, But in many organizations, internal audit believe they add value just by turning up and doing their job. Now, if they're lucky, they might add value just by turning up and doing their job. But I believe you need to add value by having a methodology for adding value. And one of those components of the value adding methodology is certainly agility or being agile. It allows us to manage the expectations of our stakeholders, and that means management, the audit committee, the auditee. Agility means more collaboration, better communication, and that helps us to manage our expectations. The second point here is that Agile audit allows us to continually focus. I think quite often when auditors get stuck into a project, we talk about getting lost in the trees and not seeing the forest, meaning we get stuck in the nitty-gritty details and we lose the big picture. I think Agile is a way of allowing us to continually refocus as we work through a audit project. And by continually refocusing, we are better aligned with management and we're in a better position to meet the expectations of management. Okay, so again, it helps us to add value. The third point here is that Agile allows us to deliver insights faster. Again, under the waterfall approach, we wait to the last phase reporting and then we deliver our report. In Agile, we're delivering information, whether that be through a report or a memo or through presentations. We're delivering information continuously throughout the project. So we have an ability to deliver insights much faster following an Agile approach. So when we take those concepts around Agile, what does it mean to the audit, to the audit team, to the CAE, to the auditors themselves? Well, it means adapting to change over following a plan. And again, I think what we saw at the beginning of COVID last year was in February, March last year when COVID first started to hit us. Yes, 21 months ago. It seems like just yesterday, but the last 2 years, even though they've been a struggle for many people and a devastation for many, it's gone relatively quickly. So 21 months ago, basically every audit team in the world threw out their audit plan and had to reassess what was happening in the organization and become more agile. So in some organizations already had were following a continuous risk assessment approach and assessing risk on a more regular basis, but many were still looking at risk on an annual basis and developing their plan based upon that. So they'd say, these are the audits I'm going to do over the next 12 months. And no matter what happened in that next 12 months, they stuck to the audit plan. However, COVID was such a catastrophic event that many organizations had to throw away their audit plan. In some cases, internal audits stopped functioning and the auditors were moved to other parts of the business where they could provide more value to the organization. Audits where you had to travel, so obviously you could no longer travel. Auditors where you had to be in the office, you could no longer do those audits. So everyone had to suddenly adapt to that change over following the plan. So it was I think since then we've seen a massive uptake in the area of Agile audit. The second point is about autonomy over control. I think when you have an Agile approach, the individual has more power within an audit team than if it using a traditional approach. It gives the auditors the ability to think more rather than just following an audit program, for example. The third point, participation over power, along the similar lines. It's about everyone being involved in the process. As auditors over the last 20 years, we've talked about moving from being a policeman to a consultant.
4 minutes left.
Sorry?
You have 4 minutes left, Phil. Just want to remind you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So it's about, yeah, moving to that. It's about vulnerability over certainty, action over analysis, speed over consensus, and progress over perfection. So Agile audit, I won't talk too much on this one. So Agile is, again, use it in some places, but you don't need to use it everywhere, okay? I just wanted to talk about continuous risk assessment. So as I said, we used to do a risk assessment on an annual basis, but now we're moving to doing a risk assessment on a quarterly or a monthly or a more continuous basis, meaning that as we assess risks, we also update our audit plan, okay? The audit plan becomes a different document in itself, not necessarily planning the whole year in detail, but maybe planning the first quarter in detail and planning the rest of the year at a higher level. Now, let's just talk about Agile quickly. So Agile has two concepts, Scrum and Kanban. Under Scrum, it basically means that you're breaking the project into multiple smaller sprints. And it's like sub-projects, or in the Agile terminology, a sprint is normally a 2-week period, but there's no fixed time frame, which you manage separately before you move on to the second sprint. Some of the things that you do during that sprint, you do sprint planning at the beginning, you do daily scrum and stand-up throughout the sprint, and then at the end, you do a sprint review and sprint retrospective. One of the key concepts in Scrum is the concept of backlog, and backlog is all of the things that we want to do in the during the audit. So backlog is really our to-do list, and each component in that backlog is what we call a story, and that's a task within that particular audit. Now, the benefits of Scrum methodology is that instead of doing something over a long period of time, we're doing it over a shorter period of time, and it's easier to manage. Planning becomes more collaborative because we're working together with the auditee to do our planning. It's not just us planning in isolation, but it's a more collaborative process. The regular updates through the stand-up is where we talk about the progress being made, barriers that we're facing, and issues that were found during the audit. And again, we're sharing that information on a timely basis. Reporting, instead of waiting to the end of the project, is something we can deliver on a continuous basis. Again, as we have issues, we report those issues immediately. We don't have to wait to the end. And as we learn things in lesson one, in sprint 1, we can take those lessons through to sprint 2 and make sprint 2 better based upon what we've learned during sprint 1. Okay, so that's Scrum. Kanban is really your, if you've got a whiteboard in your office and you have a project plan scribbled on that whiteboard and you're using Post-it notes and things like that, and different magnetic markers and those type of things, that's the concept of Kanban. Kanban's a Japanese lean methodology, but Kanban basically means visual signal. So it's a way of visualizing your project plan. The board itself is called Kanban. Each, let's call it a Post-it note on there, is called a card or a story. And we have different swim lanes, vertically and horizontally, to do, in progress, and done. So we can move things across that board until they're done in that sprint. And we can have vertical swim lanes as well. So the benefit of Scrum and Kanban is to make the audit more effective and more efficient, but at the same time improve collaboration and communication within the audit. I'll leave these slides, but we'll obviously share these slides after. But in Teammate, we have just released Agile functionality in our Teammate Plus audit management solution. So that concept of building a backlog of all of those tasks and creating sprints and responsibilities, etc., is all built into Teammate now. And the storyboard that I've just mentioned is there as well. So we saw it as an area where we believe that auditors, instead of using an Agile tool, want to be using their audit management solution to support the Agile process. In the last few months, we've released Agile functionality in our Teammate audit management solution. So just to wrap up, so why Agile? As I said, better collaboration, working with your stakeholders, the auditees, for a better outcome, better communication, not working in isolation, having a more transparent process where there's better and more regular communication, delivering things on a more timely basis, so delivering reports and getting your issues out there as soon as possible so that action can be taken based upon those issues, having more timely lessons learned, and lastly, having better quality audits. And I think if we can have better quality audits, we can deliver more value to our stakeholders. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Obviously, we can get deeper when we get into Q&A, but I'll hand back to you now, Andre.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks a lot. Wow, it was a very good and very clear presentation, I believe. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to any questions later, so we can get into the Q&A maybe after the second presenter, so it can be accumulated into one single questions if that questions in particular perhaps can be covered by two presenters at the same time. So, but at the meantime, if anybody would like to raise some questions, please raise the signal of a raise hand, and or also at the same time can type it into the chat board over the Zoom that you have it on your screen. So Phil, thank you very much. In summary for that, Walter Clover is your company right now, who's focusing more on the risk management tools as well as the Agile audit. And as I noted down here, the agility that you brought out was about how can we rapidly change directions, especially during the COVID era right now in the pandemic. This particular solutions or technique really came into handy to continue on our life, especially in the business as well as in the office work. And of course, there'll be some collaborations need to take place as well. And during these sessions or during this pandemic era, the remote collaborative efforts is highly needed, as not all of us can travel as free as before the pandemic. And of course, to manage expectation, continuously focus, and faster insights are the benefits that can be extracted out of the Agile audit. And there are two particular specific methodology for Agile audit, which is number one is through Sprint Scrum method and Kanban. Anyone, ladies and gentlemen, who would like to know more about those two methods, again, are welcome to raise a questions using raise hand question later on during the Q&A sessions, or you can as well as typing in the questions on the chat on the board on the screen. Okay, now is the time. Thank you, Phil, again. And now it's time for our next speaker, Pak Nino Kusdiawan, who is, let me briefly read out his profile. Pak Nino is currently, I'm sorry, I've been spelling it wrongly and not correctly. Pak Nino Kusmedi, who's now currently become a head of internal audit and Board of Audit and Risk Committee Secretary at Oryx GTL, which is the oil and gas company in Qatar. Pak Nino also have been a lecturer in Indonesia, one of the several Indonesian universities, and focus since quite some time in risk management and an IT audit area. Pak Dino, I'll let you to start your lecture or your presentation about Agile audit. And at the meantime, I welcome everyone to focus back to the screen to listen to Pak Dino's presentation. The time is about 25 minutes. Time is yours, Pak Dino.
Thank you, Pak Andre. And Pak from inilah.com, can you share my presentation? Yeah, it's from my side.
Okay. Okay, you can start from now if it's better from your side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for attending this introduction to Agile Audit. And thank you for Phil for sharing a very good insight. Phil and I were working from PwC a long time ago when I was still senior auditor. Phil already senior manager there. So Phil is the one who taught us regarding the team asset at that time, which is the predecessor of the teammate. And Phil also helped me when I worked for Unocal Indonesia when we first installing the teammate in the Unocal Indonesia and Chevron Indonesia company. So this is a brief journey from myself. So Andre already mentioned that I'm currently the head of internal audit or HGTL since 2011. I moved to Qatar. I spent 2 years in UAE between 2009 until 2011 as the internal audit manager at Al Ghurair Investment. Then before that, I spent years in Indosement as the internal audit manager, and then before that, I became the internal control manager at Kraft Foods Indonesia. And there is all I spent at least years as the lecturer at University Indonesia for the auditing, internal audit, IT audit, and SPAP, Standard Professional Accountant Public. I have the economics background, bachelor in accountancy from University of Indonesia, and I took master in BINUS for information system management. Okay, this is the summary of my activity. Let's go to the main presentation. So 3 months ago, in summer, in June, we have the request from our group to evaluate the possibility to implement Agile auditing in our company. So this presentation is basically prepared by my team member because if you see here, the name is Jorge Milano Duran. He's Venezuelan. He's the chemical engineer, but he also CIA. And he presents several information from the group and also from the several publications, including Walter Kluwer, Insight, Deloitte. So he summarized all of this presentation. So this is the one that the summary presented to the board audit committee that we plan to have this Agile auditing. We are still in the progress of this implementation, but I can share with you what are the lessons learned as of now. The next meeting with the group will be in next year. It's very long, but I can share with you what we have done. So before we understand how is Agile will improve our audit process, this is the one that I would like to share with you. Brief definition of Agile. I took it from Phil's company, Walter Kluwer, and the internal audit function. You need to understand the context in which company or what type of company, what are the business process this Agile will be implemented. So I'll give you the brief information about regarding the company itself, and then the Agile auditing implementation, how we plan to implement this audit and what are the challenges for each stages. And then the benefit of Agile auditing. As I mentioned, we are still in the progress implementing the whole thing, but we can re-up some benefit already at this time, and we can go to the conclusion. Okay, because Phil already explained a lot regarding the Agile auditing, this is the summary that I took from his company. Agile auditing involves using the Agile methodology that come from the software development world, similar to the other Agile methodology. Agile auditing typically means working in short, iterative periods called sprint, or using a more flexible project management. known as Kanban. To go through the full audit Agile methodology from planning to presenting and reviewing the result. Okay, so this is the Agile. It's very good that it already provide the basic background and yes. Yeah.
Could you unshare your presentation so you can probably better off to share it from our location here?
Okay.
Because you have a static presentation now.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And then just tell us whether or not we have to move to the next slide.
Okay. Very good. Yeah. Now we should go to the page which is Agile Auditing. Next page. Yeah, this is better.
Okay. Are we on now?
Yeah, we can go to the page 3.
Page 3. Okay.
2, 3. Yes, this is one. So this is the table of content for today's discussion, and we can go to the next page. Yeah, and next page after this. Yes, this is. I would like to give the basic information. How is the company structure in which we will implement this Agile? Let's call this company is a PT example. Basically, this is my own company, the company I've been working for. But please note that this PT example is owned by 2 shareholders. One of them is the Qatar Petroleum, 51%, and the other is Sasol South Africa, 49%. So my company owned by these 2 different things, and something if the participants should know that these 3 companies, my company, QP and Sasol, have different audit manual, have different audit standard, and have different audit software. So these 3 companies have their own different approach. So this is the challenge that we face, because each shareholder would like to implement their methodology in our company, but then we start to be independent also from the shareholder. So this is the overall view of the company. We will discuss the organization structure, and we'll discuss the head of internal audit role in this company, and the internal audit process flow, the current process flow, and the audit stages, and the audit documentation, and audit reporting and meeting. So this is the as-if condition. We can go to the next page. Yes, this is the organization structure of the internal audit. Dotted line, the head of internal audit report to the CEO, but head of internal audit report to the board audit committee. The board audit committee members comprise the director nominated by its shareholder. So we have 1 independent chairman, and we have 2 members from each shareholder. So the audit committee member comprise, since I joined in 2011, the chairman always be the engineer. Because we are in refinery operations, so the chairman is the director or vice president in the shareholder company, and he used to be either the technical manager, production manager, maintenance manager. So the personnel who know how is to operate the refinery. The other 2 members are the CFO from the shareholders, and 1 member is the head of investment of one of the shareholder, because they would like to review how is the impact their investment in our company, and the other member is the audit manager from the one of the shareholder. So with the composition of this audit committee, we have the 1 operational personnel, we have 2 finance personnel, and we have 1 head of investment, and we have the audit. So this is very solid audit committee that sometimes give big pressure for me as the head of internal audit to deal with their expectation, because all of them are very expertise in their field. So I will not put that the audit committee structure here. This is my daily activity. I report to the CEO, and there is another 4 vice president operation, vice president finance, vice president administration, which is responsible for IT, general service, and HR, and vice president business service, which is called VPX. So we can go to the next page. And this is how is our internal audit structure. We have very lean internal audit department. Unlike our shareholder who auditor with has audit department which has around 50 to 60 auditors. So our department is very thin. So we only have 3 audit leaders. lead auditors. They report to me, and they are responsible for certain aspect of the business process. So we divided the business process into three. One is for the technical operation safety. The lead auditor for this one is the engineer. And there is also the chemical engineer, master in oil and gas engineering, and master of gas management. So basically the engineer are sitting in this group. And the second one is the finance, commercial, and administration audit team. The leader for this is the CIA and CISA. So he's responsible for the finance audit, commercial, procurement, contract, HR, learning, development, general service. So this one. And the other is the governance compliance liaison, which is basically this is the compliance team, who is responsible for all of the compliance subject within the group. And they will ensure the compliance to that one. In addition to the role as the internal audit, we can go to the next page, please. Yes. In addition to the role as the head of internal audit, this is all the role that I possess currently at this time. So 60% of my time is spending for the auditing, doing the audit, or 50 or 60% doing the audit. And I'm also the audit committee secretary. And the internal audit team also responsible for the compliance. Currently, the whistleblowing system in our company is under my responsibility. And of course, we receive special assignment from time to time from the audit committee, board of director, and the executive team. And I am at the internal audit team, also the audit liaison for joint venture audit, state audit bureau audit, and any other partner audits. And then as part of the contract that I signed by expatriate in Qatar, we need to develop the local talent to take over the senior position in the company. So I spent quite some time in developing the career. So this is typically, we call it Qatarization. So every people working in Qatar have to must develop their replacement within, it depends, 3, 4, 5 years. So someone will take over the position. It's similar to nationalization in maybe in Indonesia a long time ago. So this is the role that become the responsible of the head of internal audits. We can go to the next page. Now, this is the annual process of our audit in our company. So we start in November or December, we develop the audit plan, we develop the budget, we explain the project that we will do. For example, implement the new module in audit management system. We need to change the audit audit methodology. We will implement the other application. This is all of the audit plan, budget, and project. And I will present this to the audit committee for the approval. So they will evaluate all of this plan, annual plan, audit plan, annual budget, and projects. So after the audit committee approval, then it's time for our team to implement the audit, and we execute the audit and develop the reporting related to this audit. So for example, I have 3 teams that in annual, my plan is around 20 audit in a year. So every team have 6 to 7 audit to be complete in a year. So including the reporting is our weekly reporting, monthly reporting, quarterly reporting. We will go to that part later. And every 2 years, our shareholder auditor from these 2 shareholders will come and conduct the peer review of our department. So they will review how we conduct the audit, how we plan audit, how we document our audit, how we report the audit. All of these things related, they will review all of our working papers, our audit report, our training schedule, training implementation, CPE reporting. So this is all of the peer review. So we have this peer review every 2 years. Based on this peer review and our audit execution and reporting, then I will report again our performance to the audit committee every 3 months. So, but every 2 years, the audit committee and board director will get the peer review report summarizing how is our performance for the last 2 years. But for the audit committee, we have the meeting every 3 months. They will evaluate the progress every 3 months in our audit. And also, now we come already to the agile mindset here, because we develop the annual audit plan, but we evaluate our audit plan every quarter during the audit committee meeting. because some issue may arise during the 3 years, some problem occur, some business acquire. So there is a lot of changes, so we need to modify our audit plan. Okay, can we go to the next page? Okay, this is the standard audit stages. As Phil mentioned before, this is the traditional audit, which is we spend our audit for 4 weeks. So we budgeted 20 man days or 4 weeks, which is 20 days. So we spend 1 week for the planning, and we spend 2 weeks for the field work, and we spend 1 week for the reporting. If you can go to the next page, please. Yes, this is basically the document that we prepare in each stage. In the planning, the lead auditor will conduct the research. What are the business process we will audit? And he identified the risks related to that business process. By the way, we have the risk management department, which is listed all the risks related to our company. Basically, they have around 500 identified risks with the bow tie. And every year we will have the risk workshop to identify the top 10 risks. And for all of these top 10 risks, internal audit must develop the audit plan. Okay, so go back to the planning here. The lead auditor will develop the audit planning memorandum, audit program, RFI is request for information, opening meeting presentation, and minutes of the meeting of the opening meeting. So there is the clear cut between the planning stage to the field work. So after all document uploaded and signed off by the lead auditor, I need to sign off this stage, then they can start the field work. In the field work, which is 2 weeks, we have budgeted 2 weeks. So we have the very strict limitation. You need to define the business process that will be tested during this 2-week field work. And basically, based on our experience, for 2 weeks, we can only test 4 or maximum business process within 1 audit. And we managed to live by this for a long time, so we try to complete everything in 2 weeks. And the reporting is basically, the IFM in the fieldwork is audit finding memorandum. So all of these stages must be completed by the lead auditor, because in the reporting stage, which is the week 4, this is the time for me to develop the audit report based on all the information prepared in the planning and fieldwork. So the lead auditor will prepare the draft, and I will finalize the draft, and they will have the closing meeting presentation with the auditee. Then we should have the minutes of meeting for this audit. You will notice that all of this stage are very document extensive. Yes, this is understandable because this is how currently our audit standard set up, and this will comply also the requirement from the group. Okay, and the next one is the follow-up audit. With this, on every audit report we issue, we will make sure that the closure will be timely. If they require extension for the action, we can submit properly, and we will provide the status report. This is very extensive, again, on weekly basis to the chief and the manager, to the vice president on the managers. Okay, now, can we go to the next page, please? Okay, so this is the reporting, the extensive reporting that we have to show how is our internal audit interact with the management, senior management, and all the other leadership team. So I prepare the internal audit performance report, which is annually, submit to the audit committee and the board of directors. And quarterly, I prepare the feedback to the audit committee. And as the audit committee secretary, I will help the chairman of audit committee to prepare the report to the board of directors regarding our activity. On monthly, I need to prepare the audit activity report to the group, which is to shareholders. So I need to submit to the board of the groups. And then on weekly basis, I attend we call it leadership team, but actually rapat direksi, in which I present the performance or activity of the internal audit to the leadership team, which is the CEO and all the vice presidents. And then the weekly audit status report is the summary of audit against our company. So because we have so many audits from the internal audit, shareholders, state audit bureau, IMS, and integrated management system, quality audit, and also our certification auditor, the internal audit department is responsible to report this to the leadership team. Currently, we are using Team Central. centralizing all of this audit finding. We put it in the team central, and every week my team will download data from team central and prepare in 1 or 2 page presentation, which is easily readable by the executive team. Okay, we can go to the next page. And this is, I attend several meetings. I meet with the all the chief VP on the management review meeting. Quarterly, I attend the audit committee meeting. We have the quarterly safety meeting. We have the, for monthly, we have the scorecard KPI meeting with the group, with the department, and with the team. And we have the monthly HSE team. On weekly basis, I attend the leadership team meeting. And we have the informal manager meeting. The informal manager meeting is very good meeting because all the managers from all the directorate will attend the meeting. So if we have some issue with other department, we can resolve this in this meeting. So for example, if I have the issue with the maintenance manager during our maintenance audit, we can meet that and resolve this thing easily. If I have the issue with the IT manager, we can meet them informally. So this is the forum in which all the managers from the all group and function have the informal meeting, try to resolve the issues between all of this department in the company. Unfortunately, this meeting was stopped during the COVID. So now we only have meeting online, which is not as intense as we had before when we still have the face-to-face interview. But this is all the avenue where the internal audit or me as the head of internal audit meet with the personnel from the company. Okay. Now I think the next part, we can go to the next page. The next part is the Agile auditing implementation. Of course, I will make quick on this thing because we can come to the conclusion, the temporary result of our implementation.
You still have 6 minutes. You still have 6 minutes.
Yes.
That's okay.
6 minutes. Okay, yeah, we can go through. Yeah, the obtain management.
Take your time.
Yeah, don't worry. Thank you. So the first step is obtain management buy-in. This is not easy, but this is not also difficult because the audit committee just asked, what will be the value you give to the internal audit is we spend this much of money, we spend time. Okay, so we can get to this easily and go to the next page. Is the which audit to be conducted in Agile way? As of today, we only have 3 audit model or 3 audit part which is used as the model for this one. Okay, we can go to the next page. And the train the audit team, we have the SME, which is trained by our group for this Agile audit implementation. And we go to the stage 4, streamline the audit information. You can use it succinctly in communicate everything from cross-function. Yes, we do have this information. I have the weekly meeting with my team member. My team member have almost every other day meeting with the auditee, and I have also the meeting with the chief, so or vice president. So any issue happening in the audit, they will get update on weekly basis. And the 5th step is stock the toolbox. Yes, we are in the as I informed you before, the shareholder, 2 shareholder, and us, we are using the different audit management system software. So this is the financing. We do have this thing, and we are about to implement the new audit management system. I used 2 of them here, and before I also used Pro Audit methodology, which is transformed into MK Insight. Anyway, the stock, yes, we have the tools, and the next one, which is the last one, is the number 6. Next page. Know what document. So this is how we document our audit process, how we document our working papers. All of this step, planning, fieldwork, reporting should be documented in our audit management system. Okay, this is the summary of our company condition, and this is the preliminary result of our experience when we try to implement in this 6 months. Can we go to the next page, please? Yeah, this is the benefit of Agile auditing taken or proposed by my team member when they prepare the presentation. It taken from the one of the presentation, maybe from audit board or Deloitte. So this is their proposal. Less time spent on planning and the audit, combining all planning, fieldwork, and reporting element, increase customer interaction, changing audit focus and updating scope, sharing finding and starting remediation. So we have mark green if it is achieved and mark red if it is not achieved. So we can go to the next page. Okay, less time spent on the audit planning. Yeah, we achieved this target because initially, but it's not merely because of the Agile audit methodology itself, but this is how we arrange and we rearrange and replan our planning stage. So we learn from the previous audit. Basically, we have all of it in our database. So the 5 days planning can be reduced to 2 or 3 days because now my auditor have all of the information and we have put all the previous information in easily retrievable environment. So and this is the first benefit is achieved. And the second benefit, we can go to the next page. Yes, combine all planning, fieldwork, reporting. I think we missed the mark here. I think this one is not achieved because I need 2 years to train all the engineer to apply. See, it is not achieved. I need 1 or 2 years to train the engineer how to conduct the audit properly following the IIA standard. Because I can assign one of the engineer come to the plant, take the refinery, bring the PNID on drawing, and he can give me a lot of audit finding. But when I ask him where is the planning fieldwork documentation, no, I have the report, but the problem is still exists. So it takes 1 year to train all the the engineer auditor to become the internal audit and pass the CIA. But now, if we want to integrate again, so there is some reluctance from my other team member that someone will conduct the shortcut. So we are still discussing how we can summarize or combine on the planning, fieldwork, and reporting element. Because now we are very comfort or maybe complacent with the stages. 4 weeks is adequate for everyone to do any audit, so they can build their comfort zone between this 4 weeks or 20 days. And the next benefit, which is increased customer interaction, we did it. We do have a long and discussion on daily or weekly or any as needed with the auditee. So we achieved this one. And the next benefit is, next page, please, changing audit focus and updating scope. So when we do the audit, if there is some emerging issue, we need to change the audit. One of the example when we conduct the turnaround or shutdown, usually we conduct this audit in 4 weeks because it's only a 4-day shutdown. All of a sudden, we have the issue in the shutdown, and the shutdown become 100 days and getting longer. So we need to cut the audit into 3 audits. One audit is the safety aspect. The second audit is the project management of the turnaround shutdown. And the last audit is the costing itself. So from one single audit, which is usually conducted in 4 weeks, now we become 3 different audits, which is with different auditee, different responsibility, and different reporting. And the other thing also, when we do the audit on the procurement, we notice some issues, then we take that off from our plan, and we arrange another special audit for that particular subject because it involves the auditee. Sorry, it's involve our vendor. So we achieved this one, and the last one, sharing finding and starting remediation. Yes, we achieved this one. Initially, we issued the report on the 4 weeks after we complete the audit. There is the official when the audit report or the action will be tracked. Now, when we're doing this, we still have the issue with the auditee because when they have the finding, now they want to resolve the finding as soon as possible, even before we issue the audit report. The problem is we will close the audit report if it is already uploaded to our audit tracking database. They give the closure request, they showing that they complete the audit, then we can close. If we have not uploaded the finding and action into our audit tracking database, so we are not easy to close this finding. So, but we are still working on how to resolve this thing, whether we can close the finding before the final audit report issue. Because sometimes we just relieve close the finding even before the audit report issue because the problem has been resolved. Okay, we can go to the next page, which is the last page. Yes, the conclusion. Agile auditing increase auditor-customer interaction, working toward the enhancement of process before audit closure. Yeah, this is by our conclusion, temporary conclusion, because we still have to make some adjustment to our implementation. Audit time is reduced and more area to provide assurance can be evaluated. So from the average 20-day, now we can complete the audit in 12 or 15 days. But now the next question is, what will you do with this saving of 5 days? You will do the other audit, or you will provide the other services to the company. So this is also the other question that we need to achieve. At the end of the day, all of us learn that Agile is not only the methodology, but this is the mindset over the matter. This is the conclusion from PwC publication related to Agile, which is I quote. So it's the mindset, how we can do the audit with the Agile, which is responsive to the changes and responsive to the customer and complete the audit faster. So the main reason, the main result for this audit, Agile audit that we take for our benefit is we can do the audit faster and we can communicate better with our customer. Thank you. This is all that I can present at this time. I'm sorry that I'm rushing to complete all the presentation, but I hope everyone can learn from this thing and we can have the question and answer for this implementation. Thank you. Hand it over to you, Andre.
Okay, thank you, Pak Nino. It's very well and very impressive presentation from you. And you still have 2 more minutes eventually. You want to add something in 2 minutes, or it will be good?
No, that will be fun. We can have the question and answer session.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude the presentation from Pak Nino just recently, and as well as the presentation that we have heard from Pak Phil, or Mr. Leverman, or we can call him Phil, since he's been here for quite some time in Indonesia. So he's very accustomed with the culture of Indonesia that we can call everyone in a first name basis. So as I mentioned earlier, I haven't seen anyone that pushed the button for raise hand to ask the questions in private, in personnel, while we are opening the video and as well as the audio for the participants who want to ask questions. But I already seen some questions on the chat box in the Zoom. But firstly, I would like to invite everybody. I see Pak Hari Purnomo is here. Phil, you remember Pak Hari Purnomo? Pak Hari Purnomo is here, and we met him during our time, those days back about 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, when we did something at the IDX. Hello, Pak Hari. Pak Hari Purnomo, can you unmute and Pak Hari Purnomo? Yeah. Hello, Pak Hari.
Wait a moment, please. Okay. Pak Andre, thank you so much for inviting me in this webinar. And Pak Phil, hello. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you in the webinar. Thank you, Pak Nino, Gus Medi. Thank you so much. Pak Andre, can I have questions, please, to Pak Phil and
sure,
to Pak Nino? Yeah.
Time is yours, Pak. Sure, Pak.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Pak. My question is regarding the audit, especially regarding the audit committee, because as you know, in the OJK's role, especially for the public listed company, there are must be an audit committee in public listed company. So regarding the audit committee, should the OJK to perform regarding or including the agility in the new role of OJK, especially regarding the audit committee, because you know at this moment the role of audit committee in public listed company is a very important. I do agree with the Pak Nino, Gus Medi, and Pak Phil idea, especially to supervise or to control or to increase the internal control of a public listed company, to prevent race that will be happen in the next future or in the long term, that the public listed company cannot avoid. Yeah. So I need your assistance of Pak Nino or Pak Phil regarding the Indonesia capital market. Should OJKs increase our rule and regulation regarding the audit committee? Yeah, especially if we comparing between Indonesia market and other market. Please, Pak Nino and Pak Phil, could you share with us?
Thank you, Pak Hari. Thank you, Perdi. Let me summarize again your questions. Questions is, in regards to the Agile audit, should OJK, which is the regulators in Indonesia that regulates all the financial and investment companies and banking, of course, in Indonesia, should they add a new regulation for listed companies to perform Agile audit in order to frequently or increase customer interaction, just like Pak Nino has mentioned in his presentation, to increase in customer interaction. So a stakeholder as well as the shareholder will have the access of information to how well the company is running in a very frequent stage of time, rather than have to wait for the end of the period of time. Is that basically the entire question, Pak Hari, right? Okay, Phil and Pak Nino, you are welcome to answer those questions. Who will answer first? Phil or
Phil first, I think. Phil.
I'll let Pak Nino go. I went first.
Pak Nino, would you like to answer that?
Okay. The last time I worked from the public listed companies in Indocement between 2007 and 2009 or 10. So now I've been working in Dubai for 2.5 years and in Qatar for almost 10 years. So I prefer to talk what is my current experience here. The audit committee is established as the subcommittee under the board of directors, which is giving the mandate to help the board director in supervising the activity of the management, especially in my case is related to the financial statement, risk management, internal audit, and governance. So how the audit committee should be established and how the audit committee should exercise their mandate, it really depends on the expectation of the shareholder in this case. So in my previous company in Dubai, it's family business. In the family business, I have some boss which is not even listed in the organization chart, but this personnel can call me immediately, go to his floor, and I need to explain what happened in the company. So this is basically what is the expectation of the shareholder. So directly or indirectly, now in my current company is more formal. The senior vice president in South Africa can call me and ask me for some information because he believes I representing my 49 investment in your company. I need the independent view from you regarding this. And I'm fortunate enough that, as I mentioned before in the presentation, we have two different audit manual audit standard from two different groups. So I need to manage the expectation from the team, and they didn't really give me the strict direction how we can do what methodology which you use. It was given, it should be independently decided by its subsidiary. So for the OJK, I think if you don't mind, I'm saying this, we already have enough regulation in Indonesia managing the public listed company. So it is with the current regulation, the board director or the audit committee can already exercise the optimal monitoring of our activity. But again, adding aging maybe have some benefit to the audit committee. But again, I don't know the current expectation from the stakeholder, because when I was working for the Indocement, the people who create the views is mostly the minority shareholder in our RUPS. So now I don't know what's the current condition there, but it's up to the expectation. But in increasing the communication or improving the communication between the committee and the board and also the stakeholder, shareholder, or through the for the corporate secretary is a good thing, but I cannot give you. I can share my current experience here.
Okay.
Thank you, Pak Hari Kutowo. That's kira-kira seperti itulah, Pak.
Okay, thank you, Pak Nino. So in summary, it's a customer interaction. They would like to emphasize on this particular situation, whether or not the regulators should add more regulation in regards of the agile auditing that will have a full benefits to the shareholder, whether or not it's a public shareholder or the regular shareholder, right? So how about you, Phil? You have anything to add to that?
Yeah, thanks, Pak Andre. I agree with Pak Nino that there's no need for more regulation. I don't think adding regulation is a solution to anything, but I agree that it's important to have, as it is in most countries, it's mandatory for listed companies to have an internal audit function, but it's what internal audit achieves. It's the results achieved by internal audit, which is important, not necessarily what you audit or how you audit it. That has to be up to the individual organization, as long as the objectives of ensuring that risks are managed and controls are effective and that business objectives are achieved. That's the important thing. So mandating agile audit, I don't think it's necessary, but it's an option to make internal audit more effective and more efficient in certain circumstances. So no regulation required, but it's certainly something that all internal audit teams and audit committees should be looking at, because it's certainly a tool that allows you to deliver more value and therefore better quality and more effective, more efficient audits.
Thank you, Phil. Yeah, before we move on, let me re-summarize again what Pak Nino has Pak Nino has brought out in his presentation, in your presentation, Pak. So the benefit of agile auditing, of course, is going to be less time, reduced about to 3 days, and it can combine all the planning, increase the customer interactions, which is the important thing about it is without have to wait until the end of a period of the audit time, we or the stakeholder as well as the shareholder will be able to look at how the company perform, and even the agile audit will help to for the company or to anyone that involves in the company to improve the process time to time, while they have the capability to see how the process will impact in their balance sheet or in the financial statement. So let me go back to the audience. We have plenty of audience here coming from around 63 companies that coming around from several or various types of industry, from the IT industry, banks. We have also from the Ministry of Transportation, Ministry of the Finance, also from insurance companies, some from agriculture businesses, which is PT Perkebunan Nusantara, from 1, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Thank you, Pak and Ibu, to come into the webinar. From Samudra Indonesia, Telkom, Trimegah Sekuritas, a security company, public security company. Sinar Mesland also joined the webinar. So let me, crew, can I see the chat box? The question that was raised in chat box. At the same time, anybody want to raise hand to personally ask the question to Pak Phil and Pak Nino? Okay, Pak Diono from Pak Diono Bambang Ledoh, Auditor of the Ministry of Transportation. The question is whether agile audit can guarantee the reasonable assurance of an audit process. And number 2 is how to practice agile auditing during the COVID-19 pandemic. You want to answer that, Phil? Or you already seen some other question that you would like to answer first?
I can add a few comments to both of these.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think on the first one, so whether agile audit can guarantee reasonable assurance. I never like the word guarantee, because internal audit can never guarantee anything, to be honest. Okay. And as it goes on, reasonable assurance. So again, I think Agile audit doesn't change the objectives that we're trying to achieve during a particular audit. It just changes the way we go about doing that audit. So the overall objective should not change. So if what we're doing is providing reasonable assurance over a particular process, by becoming agile, it should at least maintain status quo, meaning that it should at least provide the same level of assurance. But ideally, if the agile audit is going to make the audit more effective and more efficient, it should be provide a higher level of assurance. So I think agile audit can help you achieve that higher level of assurance for a particular process. The second question is an interesting one. So how to practice agile auditing during COVID-19 pandemic. I think that's talking to many organizations about what they're doing with agile. You would get two answers to that question. Some would say absolutely yes, and some would say absolutely no. We have seen organizations where audit has become more agile, and they've actually adopted agile techniques during COVID, because when they go into an audit, they don't know what to expect. Therefore, they have to be more agile. I think when you go on site and do an audit and you can talk to people face to face, there is a certain level of certainty over what you will see and what you will learn, etc. But that completely changes when you're online and doing remote audits. So in that case, people would say agile audit works well. But there's a second school of thought where they say, because you can only work remotely, then it makes it more difficult to do agile audits. So I don't think there's a clear answer to that second one. Like I said, seen organizations who believe agile becomes more relevant during the pandemic, but I've seen equally as many organizations where they say that agile becomes less relevant or even impossible to use during the pandemic. Personally, I would favor the first. I think agile can still be used during pandemic circumstances. So whether you're auditing on-site or remotely, I think you can still use agile techniques.
Okay, Phil. Okay, thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil, for answering that. And it's true, during the pandemic situation, the ability of people to, or the stakeholder or the management to look at how the company performance has become a challenge. And then the agile audit is a part of the effort or part of the technique that might be able to overcome that stumbling stone. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the screen, there's a QR code that you can scan it through that, and then you can ask the questions, right? Request a question or give us the feedback for that. For anything that you would like to raise, aside from your questions. At the moment, trying to look at the question that's being raised by all the participants. Let me see, can I? No more questions, okay. Anybody would like to raise hands and ask question personally or say hi to Phil or Panino directly? You are welcome to raise hands. From PTPN, from banks, from any insurance companies. We still have some time.
Andre, if I may, I would like to add something.
Sure, Panino. Sure, Panino, go ahead. Go ahead, time is yours.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is my experience when our team are implementing this agile, because we have 3 teams: operational audit, finance auditor, and the compliance audit. The team who support this methodology is the technical operation team, which is the engineer guys there. Because I know their team, the motto is do the audit quick, do the audit right. The finance team do the audit slow, do the audit nice. So, in overall, our team are still reluctant to accept this agile methodology. If the agile methodology will change in their how document the audit working papers. Because we are very comfortable with our methodology now. This is we start the audit, we document, we attach the document, sign off. So if we have additional working paper, this is the comment from my team, it may not achieve the agility, it may take longer. So we try the sprint in, because we have the planning and we have the field work. In field work, we are testing 4 or 5 business process. So before the 2 auditors will do all the business process together, now we try to do one by one, we call it as the sprint or the thing. And yeah, it's good that we can test one business process faster and faster, but the output of document is still the same. It's proven by my other team, because the other team are worried if we do a lot of these things, then we need to add some additional document to the one that we currently have. It may take time, so the saving by doing the audit faster will not be compensated if we make additional document. So basically, again, so the temporary conclusion, this is the mindset. You need to respond to our audit. You need to do your audit agile, but the adding additional document is something that most of my team are not favor with. So this is the thing. So you can still do agile without additional any other information, of course. At the end of the day, what are the platform behind you to support how you do your audit? So it's again, you need to take a careful consideration what are platform you want to use. If it is manual audit, this is the consequences. If it is using the audit management system, if it is using the other kind of system. So basically, yes, even in my team, it's not 100% accept this agile methodology. So this is why we still, I cannot tell you that we already implemented. We are still in the progress of implementing, and we keep having this review from time to time. Because as of now, as of today, my team still in the position, we will not change our audit manual audit methodology on how we document our work, but we will try to implement this agile method or agile mindset in our audit. So thank you.
Thank you, Pak Nino. Thank you, Pak Nino. Actually, there is one new question just has been come up from Pak Bimo Gusha Triastanto from Mitra Keluarga Group, which is, I believe, the hospital in a hospital business or a hospital industry. The question is, based on your experience, I believe this question addressed to both of the speakers. Based on your experience, give us example. What are the main considerations for us to be agile in some special circumstances while doing the audit? I believe what it means is what are the considerations to become agile during some special circumstances while doing the audit? Pak Nino or Pak Phil, you're welcome to answer the question. We still have quite plenty of time as our original schedule. This webinar will continue until 4 p.m. Jakarta time. So we still have the other 20 minutes from now. Pak Phil and Pak Nino, welcome to answer the question.
Yeah, I can give 2 examples.
Okay.
So the first example is you do an audit, and in the first few days of the audit, you discover all of the main issues. Yeah. So the question I asked, so you're doing a 4-week audit. Let's use Pak Nino's example. You've got 4 weeks to do an audit. After 2 or 3 days, you found 80% of the issues. So do you continue doing that audit, spend another 17 days to find, for example, 20% of the issues over the next 17 days when you've already found 80% of the issues in the first 3 days? Agile would say that maybe you don't continue doing that audit because you've already found all of the major issues. So that's one example. The second example would be, again, at the beginning of the audit, in your preliminary discussions with management, you find a completely new risk that you weren't planning to address during the audit.
Okay.
So under a traditional approach, you would perhaps document that risk and come back to it at a later time. Under an agile approach, you would perhaps say, well, this is an important risk. It should be part of the audit, and I would include it in this audit. But because I spend time on this new risk, I need to drop out an old risk, another risk. So there's two examples of just being agile. It's about thinking more, getting information and making a decision based upon that information. And I think what we saw during COVID and still seeing is that organizations made decisions much quicker. And maybe partner Nino can add his comments here, but from what I saw, organizations may take 12 months to analyze and research and present options and make decisions. That's how things used to happen. But during COVID, that same decision-making process happened quite often in a matter of weeks, in a matter of days. Yeah. So management and organizations would be becoming more agile, i.e. making decisions much quicker, meaning that audit has to be equally responsive in making decisions as well. So that's another example.
Okay, that's good. So I'm not quite clear of the second one that you mentioned about the if you found the risk earlier, then you may be able to drop another risk findings that may come up in the later days of the audit if you're using a traditional audit, right? But if you're using Agile audit, that since you already found that particular risk, then you can drop out another risk. Can you explain more on that, please?
So we might have gone into the audit and maybe, for example, we had five risks we audited during this particular audit.
Right.
Okay. And on day one, we find out there's a sixth risk. Now, obviously, we can't audit all of those risks because we don't have enough time to do that. So if that risk is high priority, we bring that into the audit. But because we're bringing that risk in, maybe one of the five existing risks has to drop out. We do not have time or resource to look at that particular risk. So again, that would be an example where we've got a risk assessment at a more micro level. Something high priority has come up. And we have to make a decision, include or exclude in this current audit. We decide to include it because it's more important than things that we were planning to look at. But that means that something we were planning to look at needs to drop out of this audit. Again, that's being agile.
Okay, understood.
I like using sporting examples. Let's use a soccer game as an example. We go into the soccer game, we have a game plan. Okay? In the first minute, the opposition scores a goal against us. What do? We need to change our game plan. Okay? Yeah. If we continue with the same game plan, we might end up losing 5-0. Okay? But if we change our game plan, we can adapt to that first setback and respond to that. So I like using sport as an example because, again, sports people, sports team have always had to be more agile.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And it's good for business to adopt the same concepts.
Good example. Thank you, Phil. So if we are focused on the risk, the bigger risk that we already found out at earlier days, which will most likely cover the other cascaded down risk, why bother to look at the other risks, right? Since we already found the bigger one. So we just focus on the bigger one that will result in the preventing the other risks automatically based on the findings, right?
Yep.
Okay. Pak Nino would like to answer questions in regards to that?
Yeah, I can give additional information for Phil's statement. Yes, this is the Pareto optimum is something that before even we start our audit, my team or sometimes I can predict what will be the finding in this particular department because we already have identified the risk when we do the planning. So it happened to one of our audit. So the lead auditor already identified most of the finding based on his connection, grapevine, or any information. This is all the finding that we will have this department. He mentioned that in the planning state. But we still continue. I like your idea, Phil, that we just draft the report and showing all of this audit finding. But then there's another consideration. We already have the finding. What should we do? Keep that finding. We still do the testing because the peer review will ask us again. This is not the agile. This is the compliant part. So what is your documentation to support this finding? So sometimes agree. When we conduct the risk assessment before we conduct the audit, we can predict because it's what could go wrong analysis. What will be the finding for this department? And as the experienced auditor, you will always have the hints that there will be the finding. But we resolve that in the light for the compliance. We still need to do the remaining. Of course, we can do the testing faster. Reduce for 2 weeks to the lesser week, and the reporting is faster because we know already what are the risks. In this case, in the other audit, we add additional risk to be audited because we already know what is the relative for this. Because we check 4 to 5 risks in every audit, no more than that, because we only have 2 week field work, and this happened. Yes, it's sometimes it happened like that. So we need to decide again. Being agile, you should the ability to quick decide what will you do, comply with all the process, or just issue the audit report, just like my previous engineer team. When they're doing the audit, they have very good finding with only several pages of the working paper, which is give me the headache when I was asked by the peer review committee, what did you do with your field work? But this again, you have to manage between the compliance and the agility. This is only apply in my case. I don't know in other company, because you really need to manage this, how you can respond and address and inform the board what are the main problem in our company, and being also comply to some other set rule that which is being set up for us to comply. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Nino. It's very interesting. So if I can re-summarize again, the example that was brought up by Phil, if I can categorize that, it's more on the audit that lead into the mitigation actions in a very immediate way. So, and of course, for internal audit purpose, to save some time, to give the result of the audit to the stakeholder and shareholder, what is really going on, without having to look at the other audits that considered as a subsequent audit from the subsequent risk, compared to the risk that we found out earlier. But from Pak Nino example, it's quite interesting. In some process and regulations, the compliance checklist audit needs to still take place, yeah, Pak Nino, right? Yeah, regardless of the whether or not the particular risk has already been I would call it found out and considered other risks can be dropped out during the audit. But if the compliance checklist still need to be submitted or need to be completed, then those continuation of the process risk audit or process audit still need to take place. Am I correct here, Pak Nino? This is something that you try to bring out. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So it's interesting. Like yeah. From Phil perspective, from the global, more global perspective of managing risk and then auditing the risk, using the agile audit techniques or technology itself that comes along with it, the needs to go to further analysis on the risk that's considered a subsequent risk compared to the risk that we found out earlier. It's unnecessary, because we already found out the bigger risk, that if we look at that particular risk, it will automatically mitigate all the risks underneath it, or subsequent risks. Yeah, is that correct, Phil, from my understanding?
Yeah, I agree with what Pak Nino is saying, that auditors, we come from a very conservative profession. Most auditors come from accounting profession, which is conservative. They become auditors, which is also conservative. So that's why becoming more agile is not just about actually being agile, but it's about what happens up here in the head. Okay, right. So it's this mindset issue. I use an example. I think I heard someone else mention it, but compare a consultant to an auditor. If a consultant walks outside and it's raining, he says it's raining because I'm getting wet. Okay, an auditor walks outside and it's raining, but he has to wait 24 hours and look in the rain gauge at the end of 24 hours and say it's rained X amount. Okay, so that's the difference in mindset.
Yeah.
Same objective, same result, but process is different. Yeah,
Yep.
and that's why Agile is not easy to become. It's not easy to become Agile. There's a whole lot of challenges, and particularly for conservative auditors, it's a challenging area. Complying with IAA standards, as an example, is something that's perhaps more important to most audit teams than being Agile. But again, the question to ask, is that the right thing to be? But again, Agile is still an area. It's a new area out there, and we're all still learning about how to become Agile and apply it to our audit processes.
Interesting, Phil. Yeah, I agree with you. Then, as we discussed earlier with Pahari, and also relating to Pahari's questions earlier about whether or not the OJK or the regulators of our financial institution in Indonesia should add another regulations towards the Agile audit. I believe for the needs of a shareholder or even the management to drive or turn the directions of the ship right away, right after we found out any risks or any particular concerns, is a very high necessity compared to the traditional audit that is being done many years back. But from the auditor's perspective, the compliance of checklists that needs to be filled out and reported still need to take place as well to comply with the any necessary documentations. So, but this is interesting for the stock exchange related matters. This will automatically give shareholder direct perspective of the company, how well they are operating. So correct me if I'm wrong, Pahari. Do you agree that it will also automatically create the very volatile or so-called agile situations in the stock market if the listed company using agile audit as their technique to provide the reports to the consumer or to the shareholders? Pahari, are you still there? Are you still with us? Pahari? And before we continue with Pahari, I also seen in the registration that one of the member of the or the officer of the Asosiasi Emiten Indonesia is already registered and probably already here as well in the webinar. But go ahead, Pahari.
Yes, thank you, Pak Andre. This is an interesting questions, yeah. And then this is also interesting topic and idea that that have been shared by Pak Phil and Pak Nino Kusmedi. Thank you so much. Yeah, I do agree with your statement, Pak Andre, regarding that in the new era of pandemic situation, we have to do what we call a agile audit, because it will be to prevent. I mean, it will prevent the risk in the next coming years or the next futures, because we don't know. We all do not know what will be happen in the next futures after the COVID era, because at this moment there are many public listed companies, not only in Indonesia but also in other countries, has been transformed. I mean, they generally transformed to increase their revenue, not only to develop the internal process, not only to develop the internal process in this in the company, but also they do what we call unorganic growth, sort of through M&A, yeah, and other to not only M&A but also to do a partnership with other competitors. I mean, yeah, yeah, this is my my answer, Andre. Thank you, Andre.
Thank you, Pak Hari. This is good. This is good. Actually, that's a good point from you. I strongly agree with you as well. With the ability of people, especially stakeholders and shareholders, to look at how company performs and impacted by their internal issues or by the external issues, just like our pandemic situation here, might be able also to give the idea or to give the information for the management to do or to look at the potential drastic business model changes. And of course, with this pandemic, there's a lot of game-changing situation in the business as well nowadays. So with the ability to look at how that it will impact it in my company or in my company that I invested in, if I'm invested in the public listed company, then I can either help the management or even the management himself can react or go outward to perform or to try to look at the potential new business model opportunities to respond to any changes in the external issues as well as internal issues. Right, Pak Hari? That's good. That's good point. That's good point. That's good point. Ladies and gentlemen, Pak Hari is a former IT head of Jakarta Indonesia Stock Exchange. And Pak Hari and I and Pak Phil worked together more than 10 years ago to implement during the implementation of a derivative trading at the Indonesian Stock Exchange at that time. And Pak Hari was the man behind the scene at the Indonesian Stock Exchange that day, so that's why I invited him. And it's an honor for us, Pak Hari, that you are joining our webinar today.
Thank you,
Pak. And maybe we can set up another time to have you as a lecturer, as a presenter, to share your knowledge and experiences.
Yeah, I'm blessed.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Hari. Anyone else would like to ask a questions? Well, we still have, we almost conclude our webinar. We have only 2 minutes left, but last chance who would like to ask a questions? I haven't seen anything in my chat box here. But again, to remind you all, ladies and gentlemen, please scan our QR code that already in our screen to give us feedback or even listed of a question that we can answer later on. And that particular questions can be addressed to either Pak Phil or Pak Nino here, or even Pak Hari perhaps, and for myself as well. And then we can send you the related or the respective answers shortly right after this webinar, either today or tomorrow. And at the same time, at our chat box, the crew here has already posted the information for you to click on the link that was listed, or scan the barcode as well, to get an e-certificate of attendance. So please do so. And if there's no more questions, I would like to conclude the webinar today. And a special thank you for Pak Phil Leverman for giving us a very thoughtful and beneficial and even impressive presentations and discussion today. And also the last but not least, of course, Pak Nino, far away from Qatar. Are you missing Indonesia, Pak Nino, or you like being there instead?
Sure. I cannot go home from the last 2 years due to this COVID. When I plan to go tomorrow, the quarantine became 10 days, so I cancel my trip.
Okay, but you miss home already, right? But you miss home already, right? You cannot find any special nasi goreng over there, right?
For sure.
Thank you also, Pak Nino, for your thoughtful presentations and experience that you share with us. I think without having to wait for more time to conclude, I just give back the floor, give back the webinar session to our Master of Ceremony, Ibu Rosi. Please take your time and the time is yours.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you, Pak Andre, Pak Phil, and Pak Nino for bringing us to the productive session today. You are real professional. I hope it's successful to our daily work and benefit to all auditors and CEO, our standing of Agile auditing to improve the performance of internal auditing and our businesses. Okay,
Ibu Rosi,
yeah.
are we going to take another picture or what?
Oh, sure. We can take another pictures.
We can take another picture with all the participants. Crew, can we set up the picture second? But your video looks quite
I know this. Yeah, this is. I don't have a solid background. I'm in my quarantine hotel. Like Nino mentioned, 10 days.
Yeah.
10 days
But you
quarantine.
can, if the background creates a difficulty for you, you can just use a regular screen background or no background at all. Probably it's better for you.
Here. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, once again, thank you all for your time. I know you all are busy people, and I really appreciate you being here with us today until the end. So please give big round of applause for all participants, speakers, moderator, IT team, inilah.com, and all the committee that has been working so hard behind the scene. Excellent job, you guys. Excellent.
Take more picture? No? Take more picture? Okay.
Okay, now it's time to take picture again. IT, please.
First screen. How many screens do we have, IT? How many? Three screens? Okay, so first screen ready? First screen ready? Okay, take a picture. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so second screen. Second screen, okay. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, 1 and 2, second screen, 1 and 2, 3. And third screen, 1 and 2, 3. Okay. Thank you very much, Bapak-Bapak. Terima kasih banyak, Bapak dan Ibu. Terima kasih, Bu Rosi. Thank you, Phil, Pak Phil Everman, and Pak Nino. We can conclude this. MC Ibu Rosi, I give it back to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of FAJ Consulting, we would like to say thank you for all your participants today. Season greeting to everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year 2022. See you on our next webinar, and happy holiday, and stay safe, everyone.
Happy holiday. Thank you,
Rosi.
and crew. Thank you,
Phil.
everyone.
Thanks, Pak Hari, and all the attendants.